Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this afternoon I'm joined by Sean Conley, all the way from Perth in Australia. We're here to talk about Celtic 2, Falkirk 0. Comprehensive in the end, Sean, wasn't it?
Comfortable in the end. I don't know if I'd say comprehensive in the end. It was certainly, we discussed at half time, to reiterate, it was a very even first half, and the difference in the first half was the quality of individuals, the save that Kasper Schmeichel makes at 0-0, and the finish from Franchara at 0-0 as well, his header and the cross from Tierney for that matter too. So that was the difference in the first half. And then the second goal we scored was also a bit of real quality from two players, in particular from Callum McGregor, who I thought had a very good game overall. He has 3 passes, certainly 3 possessions in the build-up, and it's a very strong finish from Nygren as well. So again, another quality goal. We then make some subs, and we've got a little bit of flurry for about 10 minutes. Taneke scores one that's offside based on the rebound from Maeda, and correctly called offside. And then we do pretty much nothing after that, and we bring on. It's a bit of a damp squib of an end to the game, which is put a little dampens it over. What a good 3 points, a clean sheet, dampens it overall the way we kind of played the game out. Because Hatate, I don't know about you, like great performance tonight from Araujo, deservedly man of the match, but I thought close call for McGregor and Tierney, who got assists and also had great games. Yeah. But I was actually getting really upset with Hatate in those last 10 minutes. Like, he was stealing a wage. I don't know what the point in him being on that pitch was. He was not interested in being there at all. Like, when you watch football and it's like give and go, he was just doing give. And like at one point, like he gets played down the channel and he just, man, it was really frustrating me. I don't know.
Looking like a luxury, Sean. It's looking like a luxury player, isn't he?
Yeah, his head's gone. He's not. Yeah. He's not there. So I don't want to be too negative. We won 2-0. We're up to second place. We've moved up a position in the league, but that was one frustration at the end of the game that put a little sour tinge on it.
Yeah, I think to your points there, the first one, we definitely did take our feet off the gas, right? And at first I'm thinking to myself, is that because the games are coming in thick and fast? We're trying to nurse people back from injury, etc. But we spoke before the game and at half time about the importance of goal difference this season, Sean. When you put a team to the point where it's 2-0, we score the third, but like you say, clearly offside, you want 3 or 4 goals in that scenario. And you think, near the end of this season, it could come to the last day. We'll be here covering games on the last day of the season, and it may well come down to the goal difference. And sometimes you think back to certain games, you go, right, okay, it's 2-0 at 61 minutes, 62 minutes. Let's get at least another goal in the last half hour. And then you're starting to claw that back. So we looked at the table at half time. Where are we now on the goal difference? We're 8 behind Hearts. We've lost a lot of goals, a lot of games this season. 6 games compared to Hearts and Rangers, who have only lost 2 each. Motherwell have only lost 3 games. They're at 5 points below us. They're on a right good run of form. But obviously, Rangers gave us a little glimpse today by drawing at Easter Road, nothing each, and we've taken advantage of it, and I'm delighted. And I think it must be through alphabetical order that on the BBC website they've got a second above Rangers, and that's good enough for me.
No, it's on goals scored. We've scored more goals.
Aye, cool. Any reason?
So we have even goal difference is even, but we have scored more and also conceded more, obviously. But
so it goes
whoever scored more. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's another reason just to put the foot down, put the foot in the pedal, and make sure that we get another goal. Listen, I am absolutely picking holes, and I know I am. Trying to bring in some of these comments here because I want to start off, albeit, Araujo, really, really like this player, Sean. I don't think he's had a bad game for us yet. Growing to like him. I mean, no matter where he gets the ball, how it's bouncing, he just seems to keep it. His ball retention is brilliant, always looking for a forward positive pass. But for me, special mention for that man, that enigmatic Benjamin Nygren. And I'll go back to this because here's a player who, coming to Celtic at 24, He had something like 200 games of senior football under his belt, which I always look at that. I always think to myself, how experienced is this player? 24, a few caps for Sweden. How many has he got now? 7 caps for Sweden, 3 goals. He's one of these goal-scoring midfielders. He's played his football in Sweden, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and in Denmark, and he comes to Scotland. So in terms of a career for someone so young, he's got bags and bags of experience, right? And he comes to Celtic, and you're just looking at his record this season, 15 goals from midfield. Now, I think the best that Callum McGregor's ever scored for Celtic's maybe 16. I'd need to check that. It certainly is for Benjamin Nygren in his career. He scored 16 goals, and it just so happens it was last season. But today's goal, the quality was immense. I mean, you quite rightly mentioned Callum McGregor. What a move that was. I mean, it starts off with Tierney down the left, but the passing and the movement, it really was a joy to watch. But Ben Nygren, at £1.7 million, if there's anything to take from that summer window, it's definitely Nygren. He's like the legacy. He's a positive, isn't he?
Yeah, and look, he's quite an enigma at times. He can be quite laconic at games. But today, the last 3 games, including today, he's looked the part. I thought against Utrecht and Hearts, he was one of our best players. He wasn't quite at the same level today, but he still had a good performance and a great goal. I thought he was a little bit wasteful in the first half, but what I particularly liked was in the 90th, 91st minute when Hitate's strolling around, acting like he doesn't have to be here or doesn't want to be here. Nygren was actually taking the ball and showing some urgency in those last few minutes. He wanted an extra goal. He wanted to keep driving us forward. I was impressed with that. I think he's always shown that quality. I say always, like obviously he had that one European game where he kept missing, but yeah, like apart from that, he's shown consistent quality. But he's starting to show drive and desire now as well. And I think this speaks to the squad refresh as well in a larger picture. Is like when you get players that age and of that quality and they start to show that desire and drive, it benefits the team. And I think that's where, like we've had Hatate behaving and scoring and playing like that in the past. And now Hitate's looks like he's checked out. Maeda, the same. Maeda was the worst player in the pitch. No, sorry, Taneke was the worst player in the pitch against Utrecht. But Maeda was second worst. And then Maeda today was stinking as well. So, like, I don't know if Hatate and Maeda are just mentally gone or if or if it's just a natural, like, they're getting apathetic towards having been here so long. Maybe the board have messed them about. Who knows? But those 2 players look quite disinterested. And we need some quality and desire and a refresh. We need players like Nygren to come in. Nygren's listed on transfermarket.com as a right winger, but we've tried him on right wing earlier in the season and he was not effective on right wing. He's been very effective running out of midfield, and he has, as you say, 15 goals. That's a great contribution. That's like Stefan Johansson, Chris Commons kind of levels. Tom Rogic. Not to compare any of those players in terms of skill, but like in terms of goal scoring contributions.
It's excellent. It really is. There's a few names I do want to talk about. Thank God, says Dyson Maeda, that Taneki's goal was called offside, because that was some miss at Maeda when he actually swung it and it hits the back of his leg. But I think it's unfair on guys like him and Hatate when they've probably been promised that, you know what, you're going to be here for 3 or 4 seasons max, probably 3 seasons. And we're into season 5. It was the second window under Ange, wasn't it, when both players were unveiled. Can you remember the name of the other Japanese player that was signed on the same day?
Centre mid, what was his name?
Yosuke Ideguchi.
Ideguchi, that's it.
Ideguchi. And, we're at that point. So I am in agreement with you. I thought Hatate, even when he goes up and he's claiming for a throw-in right in front of the assistant, and it's clearly come off his boot. And he's not
not be more blatant.
He wasn't bothered. I know. And obviously, O'Neill has picked up on this because not only is his performances not been good enough, he's got that look about him at the moment where he's checked out. And I hate to think that anybody in a Celtic jersey would ever be checked out. But it's all about bodies contributing for me, Sean. And if somebody's not contributing, maybe they have come to the end of their cycle. It's not their fault. They've maybe come to the end of their cycle. They've given us everything over the years. They won a double, then a treble under Ange, and then, Brendan comes in, we win a double, and we've got the run to the playoff last season. They've maybe come to that point where they think they've achieved everything they can at this club, and they've been promised at some point they would move on. Maeda emptied his locker, we know that, in the summer, and they're still here. But my big fear at the moment is we're talking about potential departures. It should be all about who's coming in, because when you look at the quality, and we've not had enough quantity, but when you look at the quality of the two that we have brought in, and I'll start with Araujo, they do improve us as a start 11. There is no doubt about it. I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking to myself, what an interesting career he's had as well. His career path's been pretty interesting. A wee bit more glamorous than Nygren's, perhaps. But his last move was a €10 million move from Barcelona to Bournemouth. I mean, this guy's got quality about him. And we all know that he played for LA Galaxy alongside Zlatan. And he does have quality. He's very, very good on the ball. Defensively, looks pretty solid. I don't think he's looked out of place against any of our opponents. So you come up against Casaridis, for example, who's having a really good season for Hearts, and he was quite comfortable, I felt, against them. And they were on the front foot for most of that game. When it comes to the crunch, though, Sean, it very much is a short-term signing in the respect of Araujo, isn't it? It's not as though come the end of this season, I mean, in terms of the wages as well as the transfer fee, this is a guy that will be in a category that our board will not even look at, I don't think. It's a short-term move, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disappointing because he does look quality. You don't really, not too many players play for Barcelona without being quality. Obviously, we had similar things to say about Alex Bailly when he was here. And not everyone that comes from Barcelona is quality, right? We had Mark Rosas, who was decent, but he didn't set it on fire, We've had other players come in that were relatively, didn't contribute, relatively poor. Just being at a big club doesn't mean that you're a good player. Jeremy Aliadier, for example.
Oh, I remember him.
Yeah.
Simpson Pusey is the most recent one for me. Because there's a guy that we had 3 managers looking at him, and not one of them fancied him. And he's come from the Man City academy, and he's played Champions League football for Man City, and you look at him and think, I just don't see it. So you're right. I mean, having that on your CV doesn't make you the player that we want you to be. But Araujo has shown that quality. I like him a lot.
He definitely has. And look, if we could get him, we would take him. And he's the age profile we want, and the reason, probably a reason we can only get him on loan, right? Presumably, I know he had a bit of a thing with the fans in his one performance this season, but obviously Bournemouth believe in him. And or maybe our board have just been taken for mugs like we did with Adamida. Here, drive up the value of this player and send him back to us. And if you want to pay for him, well, that'll be 10 million. Who knows? But so far, so good in terms of Araujo. I don't think he's had a bad game. The poorest game he had was the Dundee United one, and even then, it wasn't a bad game. That was his debut, and he's been solid defensively and offensively in every other game. Just towards the end there, I think he puts a great ball into the box as well. There was, again, Maeda's just too. I think if Maeda was more switched on or moving more like Maeda of old, he would have been on the end of that. But he's just a yard off in terms of desire and effort at the moment, Maeda. So he's just not there. And I don't want to go on about him too much, but I just looked up this thing about Hatate, and if we're looking at, obviously we're talking about Engels a lot at halftime and pre-match, and how he's looking tired, and he gets subbed quite early, and it staggers me that Engels has been asked. We keep going to Engels and asking him to play all these minutes, and I'm just looking at the minutes that Hatate's played. He was suspended for Utrecht, so he played 0 minutes. He didn't get off the bench against Hearts. He played 24 minutes in the 1-0 win against Falkirk, 2 minutes against Auchinleck. The previous European game, he played 34 minutes before he was sent off in Bologna. So he's played very, very few minutes of football. So if he's only trusted to play 2 minutes of football against Auchinleck Talbot, what does that say that the management team are perceiving him as at the moment?
Well, he was a go-to for Brendan. He always played when he was fit for Brendan Rodgers, and that's just simply not the case. You've just spelled that out quite clearly. That's not the case under Martin O'Neill. And I think, I mean, we can look at body language and all the rest of it. We don't really know the attitude of any of these guys, but I think it's damning that we're going to Tynecastle and he's not getting a minute.
Because he was at a point. He played 83 minutes against Feyenoord. So, like, at a point it was. So, and it was the same management team, right, against Feyenoord. It was Martin O'Neill, Fozzie, and Maloney.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because I think Hatate has shown glimpses of brilliance. Absolute phenomenal player on his day. And everybody knows that when you follow up that sentence with those 3 words, then consistency is the issue. You then look at Bernardo, who I think in his loan spell showed real potential. And I was delighted when we signed him for 3.5. Thought, really good bit of business. He's not kicked on. What's it going to take? Or will he survive this window? Who knows? You look at the Celtic squad and you start thinking to yourself, are there any players not in today's squad because there's a move lined up? I think you were right about Ralston. You know, there was no point in having 2 out-and-out right-backs on the bench and Stephen Welsh. And you needed Stephen Welsh on the bench because Murray's obviously stepping in for Trusty. So I can understand Ralston, no problem with him. But Balikwisha perhaps. But obviously if he moves, Sean, it's got to go back to Royal Antwerp. So you're probably looking at another loan. He's probably going there as a loan, and then you just kick the can down the road until the summer with him. But he's brought nothing. Balikwisha, I mean, if we're giving credit to the club for bringing in Nygren and Araujo, and we'll get on to Chvanchara in a wee second, you've got to look at Balikwisha and think, what on earth are we thinking? We chased him for 18 months.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's 18 months that Tisdale was there. So I think he just got kind of tunnel vision on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Tisdale it would appear that he made his whole Celtic career out of the Matt O'Reilly one. So he just lucked out on one transfer and then made himself a job out of that one lucky transfer, and then has just been phoning it in since then, just looking up names in a spreadsheet and seeing who's whatever age and whatever transfer fee, and just, you know, the old formula that we've been using since way back, which is, you know, age under 25, international caps, salary less than 15,000, and transfer fee less than 4 million, whatever it is. You know, like you can apply it to, like, you can just look at every player we signed prior to the Ida Engels trusty window, and almost all of them fit in to that profile. And it looks like, I mean, obviously we've paid up for Balikwisha and Tineke because we got put to the last day, but those players seem to be brought in that same profile. And all the players that were being linked with on permanent transfer this window all fit that profile. So, you know, Plukas Ronch, like they say that we take ownership we recognize we've made mistakes. You're still doing the same thing. So what do you recognize here? Like, what is the recognition? What is the corrective action? Anyway, sorry. You need to pause me. We need to have like a little bell or something. Sean, you're going on a rant. Stop. Let's get back to talking about today's game and how good Kieran Tierney was, instead of the beating this dead horse of the board. And, you know,
the rants are fine. I mean, the board chat comes hand in hand at this time of year, Sean, so it's absolutely fine. But when I'm looking at all the points you're making, Araujo, for example, another thing I would throw in there, you're right, age profile 24, internationalist, yes, got a bit of hunger because he wants to get into the Mexican squad. And I look at his agent. I always look at who's the agency that's looking after the players. And it was pointed out to me, actually, that it's CAA that's looking after them. Okay, so there's 2 different branches of that. There's Stellar and there's Base, who look after the football side of things. I mean, CAA looks after everybody from Beyonce to, you know, like mega superstars, Hollywood superstars. But their 2 football departments look after players like Araujo. And it's an agency we used to use on a regular basis. We signed so many players when Ange was here by going through that agency, and it's almost as if we fell out with ourselves because the agency will do business with us, Sean. Absolutely. If they can make money off a transfer, they'll do it, right? But it was interesting that we've gone there, and this is the quality that you get. And, you know, in this transfer window of all windows, I don't think you put all your eggs in, you know, the agency basket, because I think that's dangerous. I think we've done that in the past. And it gets to the point where if the relationship between the person at the club and the agency breaks down, then, you know, that supply of players breaks down as well. And that's definitely happened, right? But CAA Base or Stella can bring up a player like him, go back to them and say, look, I need another kind of guy of that quality, but, one that plays right wing, one that plays centre forward, and that again is something that I think we should have been doing this particular window. We haven't. Now I'm going to bring up some of these comments. Always great to see you. And are you still out in Bangkok? Ewan, let us know. Delighted to win, but our midfield is a massive worry for me. It is for me as well, if I'm being honest. Falkirk looked the better team for the most part. Just had no firepower. I think Falkirk and Motherwell. I mean, I've been banging on about how Rangers and Hearts got their finger out and got their house in order and all that kind of stuff, and they're basically doing their business competently. I don't think any of the two teams are tremendous, but if you get all of these things in order, Sean, this is the result. You will challenge for the league title. I've been banging on about that for years. For years, I've been saying Aberdeen need to get their finger out. Hibs, Hearts, all these teams are much better than what they've been achieving. But I tell you, this year, special mention for Motherwell and Falkirk, who we played today. I mean, when you look at the budget, when you look at the restraints and the constraints rather that these teams are under, and they've done a lot of the basics really, really well. And I'll tell you something, you look at Motherwell, they're more or less breathing down our necks if we don't change manager to O'Neill. If Nancy's still in charge, Motherwell are going to catch us and take over our third spot in the table as well. We're now second, of course. But fair play to both sides, because the financial element of a team like Motherwell, we got used to Motherwell being top three for a while, didn't we, under Robinson? They were getting into cup finals quite regularly, etc. But Falkirk just took the championship and they're coming up into the top six. And not only that, they're competing. Fair play. I mean, we were up against a decent side today, I think.
It confuses me, actually, how consistently Motherwell compete. They've been in the Premiership since, I don't know, what, the 80s maybe? I think I'm
going to say 82. If there's anybody in the comments can correct me on that. I'm sure they've been in the Premier League for longer than any other team bar Celtic. I think that's the stat. And
I think the town is like similar size to Hamilton, maybe. Like I lived in East Kilbride. I never really checked in great detail, but roughly, having just been in and out the two towns, it's roughly the same size as Hamilton. And they've been in the Premiership since the 80s. When we were struggling in the 90s, it was them and Hibs that were finishing second and third. When Sevco dropped out of the top division, they qualified. They played in a Champions League qualifier. They've not won a cup since the early 90s, to be fair, but they've been in finals, many finals since then. So, they've been consistently doing it. So they're doing something right. I don't know what it is, but they're doing something right. And you're right. They're apart from that mad spell where they went into administration, where they signed players like Roberto Martinez, they've been very competently run and consistently challenging. It is impressive. And look, if we were competently run, and we would probably should be looking to poach their best players. It's not small-minded thinking. We've done it in the past, like sort of Barry Robson and Stuart Armstrong and Gary Mackay-Stevens, Scott Brown, Gary Caldwell, Stephen Presley, Paul Hartley. It's not like this is a new phenomenon to pick off the best players from the other best teams in the league. And Motherwell are doing well, and they've got players like Just and Maso Anise. And look, we've taken their centre back in Stephen Welsh and played him today. So, big props to Motherwell, and maybe there's something to learn there.
I think you should always learn from these successes, absolutely. The Flying Haggis points out, actually, that Aberdeen have never been relegated. I do remember they flirted with it, didn't they? They played one of the playoffs.
There was a year they should have been relegated, if I remember correctly, but Falkirk didn't have their stadium in order. And so Aberdeen got a default escape.
They did. They absolutely did. Thanks, everybody, for your comments. I'll work through a few of these before we get on to Big Tam, as Sean's calling him, or Thomas, as Peter Grant's calling him. Quinn says, people need to stop the negativity around Nygren. Now, that isn't aimed at you or I. Sean, we had a conversation Thursday.
We were praising him a minute ago.
Absolutely. But Kevin Graham wasn't happy with Nygren, and he won't mind me saying so, because I disagreed with him on the day. And I do think that sometimes when a midfield player scoring you 15 goals at this stage of the season, I mean, there's a likelihood that he might even get to 20, which is an astonishing contribution from a midfielder. You find a way to play him. You find a way to work around them, and that's my view on it. Need the only dependable player that can actually put the ball in the net. Yeah, he's absolutely a starter. If I was to give you my starting 11 at the beginning of the season, he's not in it. Hatate's in it. But he's there now on merit, without a doubt. The quiet man says there's a lethargy that's beginning to seep into this team. I think that happens with these guys we've mentioned already, Sean, where they have came from Japan, for example, in the case of Maeda and Hatate. They've probably been told, look, 18 months to 3 years, and then this is a stepstone. You move down south, you move to Germany, as was the case with Maeda. And then all of a sudden it's all pulled back. And it's not just the player in Maeda's case, it's his wife and kids and all the kind of stuff that you planned to, perhaps this year you would be living in Germany. I think it's difficult. I think we have got to give them a little bit of sympathy there. I think it's difficult for the players because we often just think about them as chess pieces, don't we? But all these things do affect them.
Yeah, and look, sometimes you judge players and then you find out later that there was really difficult personal circumstances like breakdown of a marriage or like family illness, and you feel like crap for judging them. But so just to preface that, right, we don't know, but we're just based on the circumstance of how long these players have been here and the rumors and the chats of transfers that go around. It does appear that there's an apathy and a lethargy coming into the players that have been here too long, and it also, but it also appears that there's a fatigue creeping into the players that still want to be here, that they're being asked to do too much, like the aforementioned Nygren, Callum McGregor, Ingles. The contributor talked about the midfield struggling. I think the midfield is struggling. And the management team can't trust Hatate, they can't trust Bernardo, they can't trust McCowan, who played between them 10 minutes today and represented by Hatate, contributed nothing. This is the concern, because we still have, for the month of February, we've still got Sunday, Thursday to come. So this is our concern. And and I don't know that, and I don't think it's going to be solved in the next, I don't know. Well, you've got a clock on it. What is it, 28 hours? I don't know.
Last week I was talking about the window closing at 7 p.m. Somebody corrected me and saying it was 11 p.m. UK time.
Is it?
So okay. I'll need to double check that tomorrow, because as I say, I will be going for an hour, probably before it, just as the minutes tick away. But in relation to spending money, I don't have an issue with spending £4 million to bring, let's say, Lennon Miller to Celtic. There's a player that Motherwell
we missed that one.
We missed the boat on. And that's another thing I would say Motherwell have consistently done over the years, is produced footballers. They've produced a lot of players through their own academy, Sean. They've done really well in that respect. And the guys we brought in from Motherwell over the years, they've done all right for us as well, even Turnbull and Pearson. But I'm thinking more, Phil O'Donnell, even right back to Dixie Deans. These guys. By the way, these guys did so well for. The only problem, this actually comes full circle. Motherwell didn't want to sell Tom Boyd directly to Celtic, so he goes to Chelsea before he comes here. And we seem reluctant to buy players now directly from other Scottish clubs. So yesterday I was reading an interesting article about a winger in Serie B that, the transfer fee quoted was £6.5 million. Now, I know it's a different position, but Hibs have just sold a player to Serie A for £6 million, and we're talking about bringing somebody in from Italy for £6.5. Why not just go for the boy at Hibs? I mean, I think there's a tendency for us not to want to do business with Scottish clubs, Sean, and I don't understand it.
Well, maybe the other way around. It might be that they're fed up trying to do business with us. Thinking of the John McGinn and Stephen Fletcher sagas as an example why Hibs don't really want to deal with us anymore. Then there was a similar situation where Hibs just refused that when we signed Scott Allen, it was because Hibs were just like, we're done with those gangsters over at Ibrox. So there is, I don't know that it's necessarily from us. There might be an arrogance. It might just be that we have torched their reputation on these shores, and it could also just be because of the players like Doig and Ferguson that have gone to Italy and done so well, and Christie gone down to England, Armstrong. These players have done so well that the base value in Scotland's gone up, but still, it doesn't make we should be then still competing in that market. We're refusing to pay £6 million for players. When, if you think back to Martin O'Neill's first spell, we spent 6 million on Hartson, we spent 6 million on Sutton, and back then when O'Neill came in, we had an annual turnover of 40 million. So we were spending like half of our annual income on transfer fees, and now we won't spend any of our income on transfer fees. It's yeah. I don't like it. It's the reason why, if you want to say, why aren't we competing in Europe anymore? Well, we used to spend a lot more of our income on transfer fees and salaries, and now we don't, and we therefore don't compete with teams who do.
And this is also the reason why I think there was only maybe 2 chants at the game today. One of them was Martin O'Neill. The Martin O'Neill song, the lyrics are quite simple. It's just say Martin O'Neill until it fades. The other one is sack the board. And that's the reason why these 2 songs were being chanted at the game today, of course. Another thing, I think when we look back on, the amount of quality Scottish players, not all directly from the Scottish game, but Scottish players in the Italian league, including McTominay and Gilmour, of course. Che Adams is Scottish, isn't he? Internationalist. So all these guys, yes. I think when we look back on it, the one player that was almost like a trailblazer was, remember, Liam Henderson? He went over early doors.
I think he's still there, but he bounces up and down between Serie A and B. Yeah. He's one of those ones that absolutely rips it up in Serie B, but struggles in Serie A. But you're right, he was one of the ones that was like a test case, and Italian clubs were kind of, actually, maybe that's a decent market, and then they started picking them off. And he was Aaron Hickey. He was another one of the ones.
Yeah. We had an option on him because he'd started at Celtic before going to Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's leaving Hearts to Bologna, I think it was, we were interested. And again, we wouldn't pay the wages. And he went to Bologna before coming back to
Doesn't sound like us.
No, it's unusual, that.
Yeah, what was the other one that was in? Rodgers ended his holiday to come back and meet with Piccini, and then had him in the stadium doing a tour, meeting with him, and then the board are just like, this is your wage demands? No, not even considering this. How did they even get that far before the board?
The one recently that came back, and it always will come back to the fore, was Ivan Toney.
Yes.
And the discussion actually was between Tino from the Celtic Exchange and Dara McAntony, who is, I think, is he the MD or the CEO of Peterborough, right? So he was talking about that deal. And he said that when Toney was up at Lennoxtown having a look about, with a representative from his football club, when a fee was mentioned in terms of the salary, the Celtic representative actually laughed. He laughed out loud. He lolled him. He absolutely lolled him up at Lennoxtown. And then Toney went on to score a few. One final player I want to talk about today. Pete McGee reckons man of the match Araujo as well. Absolutely. Is Big Tam. It's Chvan Chara, who apparently is my long-lost brother. It's a change from KD Lang, so thank you for that. But yeah, liking what I'm seeing of the big fella. There is an option to buy this one for 7 million quid. 1 assist last week and a goal tonight. We're going to have to wait to see him in Europe, though, because he won't be available for the playoffs, will he?
No, I think the next time we play in Europe, he could be available. Unless,
I need to check that, actually.
I think it's now that tomorrow, when the transfer window closes, we're allowed to make 3 changes. That's my understanding.
Good shout.
So 3 would have to come out, and there's some obvious candidates in there. Balakusha. So Van Chara and Araujo, I would assume, will go in, and then probably one other. So I actually think the way he plays as well could play in Europe. We talked about how he was at Tynecastle, and I think maybe Europe, the way we play in Europe, could suit him. But we'll see. It was a good header today. He's still a little bit rusty, like his first contribution in the game was to take a really heavy touch out of bounce, but I think overall he's good. There was one moment where he was kind of had a through and goal, and McGregor, who played well, put him in behind with a perfectly weighted pass, and he kind of snatches at it a little bit with his left foot when Forrest is making the run at the back post, and he was very apologetic to Forrest, like, yeah, you were definitely the better option there, but it's good movement, good pace, good strength. He profiles well so far, and he's contributed an assist and a goal in his 2 games. and he's not even played 90 minutes in those games. So it's a good return so far, and it's promising.
Long may that continue. And apparently there is a Sky report stating that £14 million has been bid for Engels. Quick question, stick or twist on that? I
wouldn't sell him because what are we going to do then? Like Hatate or Bernardo or McCowan then come in? Because we're not got any other players lined up, I assume.
No, I agree.
We're going to go to Hibs and try to get Mulligan on loan. Is that the plan here?
No chance.
Bring back James McCarthy. I don't know. Get David Hanna out of retirement.
We've not announced James McCarthy's departure yet.
Yeah,
we're in second place now. Yes, Mark, I'm delighted about that as well. And thank you to JD Boy and to Rory for supporting what we do. It really is appreciated. We're heading towards 40,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and like this video. We cover all the games, and we're also here every single weekday at 12:30, and whenever Celtic are not playing at the weekend, we'll have an extra show on that day as well. 365 days of content from a Celtic state of mind. And I've got to say, it's always a pleasure, Sean, all the way from Perth in Australia, to be joined by your good self. Thanks for that, and join us again tomorrow at 12:30 on a Celtic State of